We're back after multiple weeks of me being on the road, 2 times trying it on the road and having equipment failures. And here we are back home in the studio, hardwired to the internet, not using any of the fancy graphics software that caused one of the crashes while we were out on the road. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So where do we start even? All the draws are done for the year. I'm trying to think. At least everything that's related to elk. And if you, let's see, last week Idaho came out, if you have applied in Idaho. And now we're down to the leftover tags, the second choice draws, the over-the-counter stuff. So if you're going elk hunting this year in 2019 and you don't have a tag, you don't have many options left. You're going to have to do some quick thinking, and you're going to have to do it soon. But first thing we want to do is thank the great folks at Bowtech for making this possible, and Leupold, and Onyx, and Go Hunt, and Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, and Tight Spot Quivers, and Ripcord Arrow Rests, and Black Gold Sights. And remember to use our promo codes in all these things because you save a lot of money, right? When you go to Onyx and use promo code Randy, you save 20%. So how are we going to go elk hunting this year if we haven't got a tag yet? Interesting. Let me see. I'm chiming in here about this. Join chat. There we go. All right. I'm looking for questions. Look at that. Someone said thanks for the podcast. I wonder what they thought about the one that released today. Marcus and Michael and I sat in here and we had this debate because Marcus always says, and I think part of why he says it this way is he knows it raises my blood pressure. He says, elk are where you find them. As if you randomly stumble around the landscape and find them. And I say, no, you find them where they are. In other words, they are where they are, and it's your job to go and find where that is. So that's the podcast that we did the other day. Hopefully people got a kick out of it, and hopefully they learned a little bit. But if you're going elk hunting this year and you don't have your tag yet, the obvious example is Colorado over-the-counter. There's over-the-counter second and third rifle, and a lot of the archery tags are over-the-counter. And you just go and buy your tag, and you're off and running. Idaho has a lot of non-resident elk tags still available. Now, Montana, I think it's August 6th or 7th or 8th, something like that. Any return tags are going to go on sale then. The second draw, Idaho has a second draw that will have some elk tags available in there. And let's see, Utah has an over-the-counter option. And a lot of those are spike-only elk hunts. And that's probably about it. I think the Wyoming leftover draw might still be open. For some reason, I think that's open until Friday. I don't know, but you'd have to go out to Wyoming Game and Fish and check. So, anyhow, those are your options. So if you want to go elk hunting this year, there's still the possibility to do it. We're hunting a lot of general tags this year. I'm trying to think. Marcus, Michael, Dan, Dale, me, we'll all be hunting Montana general tags. We got Corey and Donnie coming to Montana to hunt the general tag. We got Matt, who's going to hunt with us on the Montana general tag. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of over-the-counter stuff. But that's all right. That's the fun stuff. Mark asked, what about tags for disabled or mobility impaired? Some states have those. Your best bet for mobility impaired is going to be in New Mexico. Unfortunately, that draw is already behind us. So, too bad. I wish that it was still open for you. Someone wants to know how antelope meat tastes. Oh, absolutely wonderful. I eat it any chance I get. Let's see. Melvin asked, 1-year-old burn, hunt it, yes or no? Yes, if it's the newest burn and it's a year old, I'd be there. I'd at least be hunting the fringe, the periphery of it. The core of the burn might have burned really, really hot, and it may not be back to its like it will be in 2 or 3 years. But along the fringe, oh man, that's the place they prefer to feed anyhow. And usually the intensity of the burn is not as great there. So the first year, right on the edge of that burn, can be really, really good. Let's see. All right, Todd said Wyoming leftover is closed now. Okay, it might have closed on the 1st. I couldn't remember. So cross that one off the list. Someone wants to know, what is a general tag? A general tag is a tag that lets you hunt multiple units. You didn't have to put in for a limited entry draw to get it. Someone drew a quality bull elk tag in Washington. Season opens September 1st through the 19th, but my time is limited. When is the best time to locate a bull? I would be there I would be there as late in the season as possible. So if I had 5 days, I'd hunt the last 5 days. If I had 7 days, I'd hunt the last 7 days. Because you're going to locate more elk the later it is, just because of the amount of bugling and rutting and other activity that's going to be there. Someone asked, did you guys draw any Idaho tags? Once again, our entire team struck out in Idaho. I don't know what it is. We will probably never draw a tag in Idaho, would be my guess. Let's see. Someone drew their first choice in New Mexico. That's cool. Do I typically hunt the same area on multiple days, or do you hunt different areas? I'm not exactly sure how Ryan's meaning that to be. Do I typically hunt the same area on multiple days? Yeah, I often do. I'll hunt the same general area 2 or 3 days in a row. And if I'm not having any luck and all my spots that I had on my e-scouting aren't working out, then I'll pull up and I might move 5 miles, 4 miles, 10 miles, whatever it is, to a new area. But I will go back for a couple different days. And if I'm seeing elk, I'm going to go back to the same places. But some days I don't see an elk, so I go to a different part of the basin or a different part of that drainage or that mountain range. And I'm not going very far when I'm moving around like that. First timer in grizzly country, solo hunt west of Cody, Wyoming. Keep a clean camp, Todd. That's going to be the absolute ticket to it. Carry bear spray, carry sidearm, carry whatever makes you most comfortable. I'm a bear spray guy. Some people are sidearm guys, but if it's a sidearm, make sure you're comfortable and know how to use it. It's a possibility in Northwest Wyoming. They have a very, very high grizzly bear density there. How old does a burn have to be to not be productive and as productive anymore? As a general rule, Dan, the newest burn on the mountain or in the area you're hunting is the one you want to focus on. So if there's a 10-year-old burn, a 3-year-old burn, that 3-year-old burn is going to be the most productive burn until another one comes in its place. And all of a sudden, the one that was 3 years old gets out here to 8 years old, and now you got a 2-year-old burn. I'm hunting that 2-year-old burn. I'm still checking out some of those other ones, but I'm focusing on the newest burn on the mountain or the hill or the wherever I'm at. So you're from Montana. Are the Little Belt Mountains any good for elk? Yeah, a lot of elk there. Grizzly bears, very, 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 very few. Occasionally one has been recorded stumbling through out there, but it's probably not anything you got to worry about. Oh, what boots do you wear for your scouting and archery? Kennetrek makes a very lightweight boot called the Desert Guide. I use those. Let's see. Colorado archery, want to go? I want to go all the time, everywhere, with everybody, but unfortunately, the requests are more than what my calendar allows. Holy smokes, there's a lot of people on here tonight. This is great. I really appreciate all of you being here. So, Zach says, Randy, I've heard you mention your e-scouting many times, but I'm curious what your method to e-scouting is. I'm glad you said that or asked that, because last summer we did a 12 video series out on our YouTube channel. So if you go to Randy Newberg Hunter YouTube channel and type in e-scouting, you'll find 12 videos of how we do it step by step by step by step. And you'll realize that onX is the absolute critical way or tool for what we do. Let's see. Thanks, Dave. Dave said check out his YouTube series. Hunt the top of the burn or the bottom, or does it depend on temperature and precip? It depends on all that. It depends on a lot of other things. It depends on if the road is above the burn, the road's below the burn. It depends on where the moisture is, where the bedding cover is relative to the burn. If it's a big burn and it rolls around a slope, is it going to be flatter? Is it going to be steeper? It's really, really hard to say. The top or the bottom of the burn it's really not a top or bottom issue. It's a whole lot of other issues in my experience. Let's see. Do I apply for Minnesota elk? I don't. I didn't even know that non-residents could apply. And if asked to go along, would you be willing to bring the crew? Oh, we're so busy at this point. Our calendar is an absolute train wreck. Dave says, I heard you tell Michael is losing his job if he fails to fill his tag with e-scouting. Yes. That podcast we did today is talking about Michael's e-scouting. So Michael is fretting. Today we spent a bunch of time talking about how we got to do this e-scouting. So starting tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon it is. Anyhow, we the first video, Michael has this really cool tag that is a long season. So he wants to go there in archery season, which is the pre-rut. So I told him, all right, then you're going to come up with an e-scouting plan of what you're going to do, why, what's the reasons, what's the rationale, and what's plan A, B, C, D for pre-rut. And you and I are going to go over it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and feedback. And then if he doesn't fill it in archery season, he's going back in early October, which is when the peak rut is transitioning to the post rut. So I told him we're going to do another video with you doing a plan for this transitional period where it's tapering off the end of the peak rut and starting to become the post rut. And then he can even go into November, which would be late season. So I said, you're going to also have to do a late season e-scouting plan. And I told him, if you don't fill your tag, the whole world of what we talk about is going to come crumbling down. You're going to lose your job. We're going to fold up the shop because everyone's going to say, Newberg, your stuff doesn't work. Your employees can't even kill an elk with your e-scouting plan. So it'll be interesting to see how those videos turn out and whether or not Michael is ever able to fill his elk tag. He's never shot an elk before. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let's see. Do you use a wall tent as much as you did in the past? No, I've found the wall tents are way more cumbersome than what the value is of what they provide. Don't get me wrong, in foul weather or in winter when you need a stove and everything, they're really, really handy. But we've went with a lot more of our Hilleberg backpack type tents, and we even use them as base camp tents. So someone says, I have a New Mexico archery deer hunt in August. Any tips for hunting in 80-degree weather? Yeah, stay hydrated. It's just tough. I don't care whether it's elk, whether it's deer, antelope. It gets really, really tough when it's that hot because you got these short windows. They're up on their feet right at daylight. And as the sun's getting up and it's getting hotter, they're going to the shade, they're going to the cover to get out of the heat. And then they're bedded for most of the day. And this is deer, elk, whatever. And then you got that last little period in the evening when they're back up on their feet. So it makes for some tougher hunting. And if you really want to have a tough hunt, have a full moon when it's 85 degrees in September and be archery hunting. They're just, every year it seems like we run into one of those stretches, right? Where it's really hot full moon, all the things where they're just not active during the day, and it's really frustrating. Really frustrating. But you still got to go. Let's see. Do I bugle more or cow call when locating a bull in the middle of September? I used to cow call a lot more until I started hunting with Corey Jacobson. Now I just call. I just bugle. If they don't want to answer back, fine. I'll come back 3-4 hours. Maybe you'll want to bugle that back then at that time. So, Gordon asked, do you ever hunt Idaho? Earlier in the show, we said we flunked out again in Idaho. The whole crew. None of us drew anything in Idaho. Just how it goes, unfortunately. Oh, let's see. Man, we're getting a lot of invitations to go on hunts today. This is cool. I'm glad so many people drew tags. Patrick asks, if you're hiking in and setting up a backcountry camp, what items do you leave that you would normally bring to a base camp? Oh, lots. Lots and lots and lots. There's so little that we bring as a percentage of what's at our base camp. I mean, we're bringing less clothes. We're bringing all dehydrated foods instead of maybe foods we keep in our Orion coolers. We're bringing lighter gear as far as our sleeping systems. We're bringing water filtration instead of bringing actual water with us. Yeah, it's crazy. So Surge asks, in inches, how much additional antler growth do you expect in the Southwest states due to all this moisture? Boy, I don't know, but I've been reading some stuff on that, and they've done studies in drought years versus non-drought years. And they say that it can be 10 to 12%. So you think about that, and if you're into scores, that means a 300-inch bull in a drought year could grow to be a 330 or almost 340-inch bull in a high moisture year. That's a huge difference. So I think it'll be really, really high. A great year. Just the stuff I'm seeing of people posting pictures of the antler growth already for late June, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's not just the Arizona pictures I've seen. I've seen some in Wyoming, some in Montana. There's some pictures floating around from bulls in Yellowstone Park that will migrate either into Montana or into Wyoming. And it's ridiculous. If they didn't grow an inch, they'd be huge bulls. So I'm not sure what the deal is, but it's going to be a great year, I think. Okay. Zach asks, 5 to 7 day general archery Montana. Which unit would you focus on? If you follow our stuff, Zach, you'll know that we don't tell units. We give people the information and the tools to go and do their own research, but we don't ever say this unit or that unit. So, let's see. David says, I'm in Colorado, first season, rifle unit 62. Season starts October 12th. Where does that fall in your 5 calendar periods? That's that really hard place where you start with early, pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut. You are way closer to this post-rut period than you are peak rut. I mean, what you're going to see there, I would hunt it almost as a post-rut pattern, especially after the first couple days when some shooting starts. Those bulls, especially the older bulls, the bulls that have been through a hunting season or 3 or 4, they're going into sanctuary mode. At the very opening day or 2 of your season, before the shooting starts, they might still be slightly in that little bit of rutting behavior, but the mature bulls on public land get pressured a lot, and they know that things are getting bad in a hurry. So it's a hard time. Let's see. Chase asks, are you using anything in the backcountry to charge batteries, or are you just bringing spares? Mostly we're bringing spares. Marcus brings this charging panel, and we bring these Jackery. I don't know if we got any of them in here. They might have them all out in the we got one charging right there, but They're just these power cells or whatever you want to call them, battery packs. And our smaller cameras are one thing we always got to be keeping charged is our on-X. So our cell phones, we're keeping those charged. We use mirrorless cameras that use smaller batteries. Our audio, we got to keep that dialed in. But yeah, we're able now, we've kind of sorted it out that we can do it mostly with battery packs and spare batteries rather than have to tote in a big charging system. So, Andrew says, Randy, can you make sure the years I draw tags there are not drought years? Oh man, don't we all wish we could pick what year we're going to draw a tag? That would be nice. Be really nice. Oh boy, this one I get asked a lot. So I'm going to, I don't have enough time to answer it here, but David says, hey Randy, I told you this question was coming. In what order do you upgrade your equipment from the bargain basement stuff we all started with? That's a really good question. And I always say when it comes to gear and equipment, do not spend money on gear and equipment to such a degree that it costs you the opportunity to go. Your first priority needs to be licenses and tags and the transportation and stuff to get there, to have a hunt. And over time, you can upgrade your equipment. Any of the people you see, me or those on our crew and our show, our guests, none of us started out with this Cadillac kit of stuff that you see us use now. My gear kit right now is 30 years in the making of upgrading, experimenting, upgrading. And I'm at a point in my life where my financial resources to foolishly spend without getting in trouble at home are way more than they were when I was younger. So be very realistic about that we all have financial resource constraints, and make sure that you don't lose out on opportunities to go at the expense of the latest and greatest and the newest and the whatever. But if I'm upgrading gear for elk hunting, boy, it's a toss-up. It's probably going to be a toss-up between my binos, my boots, my pack, and my clothes. And what did I miss there? I'm sure I missed something, but it's going to be somewhere in that group of things. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it's going to fall in one of those. And then I'd start with one of the other ones that I mentioned and go from there. Oh, Ryan says, if you are starting to build points for elk and you are starting from zero, what state would you recommend for a balance of quality and quantity? There's two I'd recommend. One is too late, and that's Arizona. The other is Wyoming, and right now you can go and buy a point in Wyoming towards 2020. So those are the two. If I was just starting out, those are two I'd focus on for building points. What was that one? Kurt says, you want to go fly fishing in elk country? I'll show you a killer spot, but you got to catch a fish first. I'm not a fly fishing guy, so I probably wouldn't be able to catch a fish. So I'd be out of luck on that. Oh, a couple things we want to make sure everybody knows this. Right now, Bowtech right here, they do their annual sweepstakes, and it doesn't cost anything to go into the sweepstakes. But here's what you got to do. You got to go to this link that I'm going to have Kyler posted in the comments here. And you're going to win a whitetail hunt, all expenses paid, in Illinois on the Grigsby Farm this year. So they're going to pluck one person. And if you don't click that link, there's another way you can do it. You can text Newberg, Newberg, to our normal number, 64600. And that's another way to get in. That's what you do, and you're going to be in the running for an amazing hunt for great big whitetail deer in Illinois. So, Troy said he was out. I was having this discussion today. Troy says he's just out scouting in Colorado, and there's still so much snow that he thinks the bulls will get to the summer range in September. We were talking, me and another guy today, about how much snow there is, even in Montana right now. We don't have nearly what Colorado has, but our high country still has a lot of snow. And I'm interested to see how that affects when the elk get up to their summer range, or how much of that summer range gets utilized, or if the snow finally leaves in August, does that mean that summer range is going to stay in a way better condition for a later time into the year than it normally would without all this snowpack? I don't have the answer to that. To me, this is going to be a year of a lot of observation to see how it really happens. So, Troy, if you have any thoughts on that, I'm going to be very interested to see what you might see. So Rhett asks, if a new hunter is going to hunt elk in Montana for the first time, when and what place or area would you recommend, and what type of terrain would you be looking at? That's a really general question. I would go out to the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks website. They have a hunt planner there that's going to show you. It has a map that shows which unit is over objective, at objective, or under objective. And then you'd want to look at onX or something similar to see what the topography is, all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into that planning. So much more than what we'd be able to provide here in something like this. Okay. Let's see. Boy, they're coming through fast. Pintler or Metcalf pack? Depends on where you hunt, how you hunt, and if you just day hunt. I use a Metcalf as kind of my all-around go-to pack. It's a Mystery Ranch pack. It's what I kind of, it's just something I've grown comfortable with. But I have a Pintler, I have a Selway, I have a Beartooth, I have a Marshall. I have pretty much all of them. And for each of them, if I'm doing a certain thing, I have some of their pop-ups, I'll grab one or the other. But if you told me I only can pick one, oh boy, it's probably going to be the Metcalf, just because of how much elk hunting I did. Now, if I did mostly deer hunting, that answer would probably be different. Will elk use the same wallows as cattle? That's not been my experience. If you ever been to where cattle are watering it up and stinking it up, usually the elk are moved away from there. And maybe someone else has seen it where it's happened, but I've not. Let's see. You're always talking about doing your research on over-the-counter units when picking one. What do you actually look for? We've covered this quite a few times. Every unit is good and bad depending on who you can ask. Right. I don't rely on what someone else tells me, because a lot of guys are going to send you on a goose chase. Oh yeah, go up to No Tell'em Creek. There's all kinds of them. And they've sent 12 people up there already this week. So what I do, I go and get all the information related to what are the herd trends of that area. Is the herd growing? What's the cow to calf ratios? What the bull to cow ratios? What's the harvest percentages? What's the average age class of the harvest, if that data is recorded? Those are the things that I look at. I want to hunt a unit that's either stable or growing in population. And I know a lot of people are like, oh no, that's just BS. That's blah blah blah. That's how I approach it. I don't look at the terrain. I don't look at whatever. The first thing I do is find units that the herd dynamics and characteristics tell me I'm probably going to have a good hunt. And then once I have a list of those, then I start looking on the landscape to say, all right, which of these are the kind of unit I might want to hunt in terms of terrain, in terms of maybe ability to get away from people, whatever it might be. So I really don't talk to anyone else and say, hey, should I go hunt this unit or hunt that unit? Because odds are they're not gonna give me the straight line. Oh, here's something else. You see this? This is a Gerber Vital knife. Most of you know that I'm a big fan of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has done, I don't know what they're at. They're pushing 8 million acres of conserved elk habitat. And I think right now they're over a million. I think it's 1.2 million acres of improved public access in elk country. So right now, if you sign up, and I'm going to have Kyler put the link here in the comments. If you go to rmef.org/Gerber, like it says on that knife right there. If you sign up to be a member, they're going to send you this $40 Gerber Vital knife free to you for being an RMEF member. So hopefully that helps. Elk Foundation does great work for all of us. If there's a lot of moose in an area, does that affect the elk population? That's not been my experience, but I've never been in a spot where there is that many moose that I think it would impact the presence of elk. My son had a moose tag here in Montana that was probably the densities of moose was as high as any place I've ever seen, and there were still elk all over the place. So I don't know that there's really a correlation there. These are scrolling fast. They're scrolling by so fast. I'm sorry that I'm missing some of these. Okay. Let's see. Where's the best place to find what elk prefer to eat in southern Utah? So Michael and I, in planning his scouting, his e-scouting, and if you listen to today's podcast, you already know what answer I'm going to give because we covered that in the podcast. One, there's a book out there called Elk and Elk Ecology by Jack Ward Thomas that's going to give you a lot of information. But the best place to go is Google. Go out to Google and research elk forage, Dixie National Forest, or whichever place you have in southern Utah. Check out all the BLM research. Check out all of your state wildlife agency research. The Forest Service will have some of that research. A lot of times when they're doing analysis of grazing allotments, they're doing analysis of not just what the cattle prefer, but what the elk and other wildlife prefer. And they have to analyze that in these reports. They're very technical reports, and they can be pretty boring reading. But they're going to tell you, and they're at least going to give you a really good start about what's the preferred forage of elk in the area that you're hunting. There's so much information out there. It's crazy how much information is available. But you got to do a lot of work to find it, and you got to do a lot of reading once you get it. And then if you're like me, I'm not a botanist. So when it's talking about all these Latin words for this plant or that plant, I got to look it up and see what it is. And then Google has images, right? And I go to those images to see, oh, that's what that looks like. And then I save them on my phone. So when I'm walking around out there, I'm like, well, where's this whatever fescue or where's this blah, blah, blah. Oh, here it is. This is what it looks like. And after a while, you start getting the hang of it. But there's going to be a lot of differences in the forage that they prefer based on the time of year also. Because sometimes certain forages might be available in July, but they're already dried up and gone by the time hunting season comes in September. So take some work, but it's out there. And we talked about that in the podcast that released today. And then Michael's doing his research right now to see what it is exactly. He's doing exactly what you said or what you asked. I told him go out and find out what forage in that unit in Wyoming that I would prefer to eat, because that's going to be one of the critical pieces to putting together his e-scouting plan. Wait, what was that? I just saw something. Oh, there we go. Is there going to be a lot of day-by-day episodes this year? Oh, yeah. We just hired another camera guy, Dale, so that we could cover them all. In September, here's how much content we have in September. We've got Arizona antelope. We got Nevada elk. We got Montana elk. We've got British Columbia mountain caribou. We have, let's see, Marcus and Kara, they're Montana elk. Me and the Gerber guys are Montana elk. Michael's Wyoming elk. And that's just in September. That's why we needed to hire another camera guy. I probably should have hired two. So Jim asked, what if you're already a member of RMEF? Can you still do the knife special? They did tell me if you do a renewal, they'll honor the same thing. So hopefully that works for you. What are the pin distances set on your bow? I'm using a 5-pin sight. Here you go. I got a 3-pin sight. 20, 30, 40. And then, yeah, I have a slider tape if I want to use it here. This is a black gold Ascent right here. I don't know if that slider tape's showing up there, but right there, that white tape. So as I've gotten older, my eyes are just not what they used to be, and I just got to be realistic. And that's why I try to keep my shots to 40 yards or in. If I had better eyes and I had a better shot, maybe I'd think about it differently, but right now, all right, people say the audio's dropping. Kyler, are we dropping audio?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it. Hey, Dave, you still got us there? Someone says they're hearing the audio drop also. That's not good if the audio's dropping. Let's see. How will cattle affect September elk hunts? My experience is that the elk will move if cattle move into an allotment. The elk will move. They're not going to move far. They're going to move a little ways away. That's been my experience. But there's sometimes you'll see elk and cattle not too far apart from each other. So as quick as I say that, others are going to say, no, it doesn't matter at all. All right, everyone else is saying the audio is good, so good to hear. No audio. Wow, there's a lot of people listening. Dave, I think it's your connection. Now he says he's no video, just audio now. All right. Everyone else says we're doing good. So we're going to go with we're doing good. All right. Go get a couple more of them here. Are you sending me? Oh, all right. Is the 7mm Remington mag 168 grain bullet too big for deer? Nope. Awful lot of deer have been taken with that exact round. Do I use any standard inserts in my full metal jacket arrows? Nope, I don't. I just use regular arrows. I arrow without an insert with 125 grain head. Do I use trail cams for early season scouting? I don't even own a trail camera. I know some people are probably thinking, what? You don't own a trail camera? Yeah, I don't have a trail camera. How much can a llama carry in each saddlebag? The llamas we rent from Bo Beatty at Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas, the older boys, the stout muscled up ones, they can carry pretty easily 90 pounds. So that's 45 on each side. Yeah. And I've seen Bo when we've been heading out. He had the one big old boy last year, I think, had 108 pounds on him. So these are true packing llamas now. These aren't just your llamas that were out in the pasture getting pictures taken of them. These are true pack llamas. So any luck with tags in Nevada? Yeah, I drew an archery mule deer tag, which there were leftovers, so it was pretty obvious I was gonna draw. But what is a good all-around rifle scope? If I was on a budget, I'd go and get a Leupold VX3i. The value there is unbelievable. The quality is excellent, and the price point, you're not going to find. If you believe like I do that value is where quality and price, or performance and price intersect, you're not going to find anything better than the VX3i in terms of value. All around, kind of a balance between a super high-end scope, but yet that next step up and amazing features. Most of what we hunt with are Leupold's VX5 HDs. So those are something to think about. Let's see. Kip asks Randy, Montana's elk opening falls with a new moon this year. Will this help or hurt? Again, we talked about that on the podcast that dropped today, and I am sure that tomorrow when I open up my email, I'm going to have so much hate mail. Maybe not hate mail, just razzing me. Because I said in that podcast that I think moon phases are a little bit like wolves and other scapegoats. The elk still got to do what they got to do. Yeah, if it's really hot, maybe they'll do more of their stuff at night and less during the day. But if you have a calendar that looks like ours, we got to hunt in the full moon, the new moon, the quarter moon. We hunt all moon phases, and we see no difference in our success rates based on moon phase. We do see differences based on high, above average temperatures. We have our worst success for all species when temperatures are definitely higher than the norm. But moon phases, I've never tracked anything that shows this is great or that's bad. And I know a bunch of people are going to have a different observation than that, and that's fine. I'm just saying that's my experience. Let's see. Oh, you people are trying to get me in trouble. If I answered some of these questions, I'd be in such deep trouble. Do I have a tripod suggestion for a spotter or binos? There's tons of good ones out there. Probably get something that's carbon fiber, something that can compact low. And if you're using a big pair of binos that you're not hiking with, that you're just maybe walking a couple hundred yards from the truck, get a really tall tripod so you can stand if you need to, and rest your back. And usually the big ones, you can drop them down and you can sit at them. But a backpack one, definitely probably going to want to do some sort of carbon fiber. And also, don't skimp on the head. The head, a lot of times when you're glassing, you're trying to move and you want a nice fluid head. Well, you get those friction ones and it's like, and you're trying to do your gritting and it's like, so don't skimp on the head for your tripod either. Brett asked, do I cover the muzzle with electrical tape? Yep, I do. Do it a lot, especially with foul weather. Let's see. Connor said he thought that our podcast about me getting thrown in jail in Mexico was a classic. I'm glad you liked it, because it's funny now, but it wasn't funny when I was sitting in jail in Mexico. Have I ever used pack goats? No, I haven't used pack goats. What broadheads am I using when I'm hunting elk? I use bone broadheads. Go to bonebroadheads.com and you'll see them. I'm so impressed with them. I used them last year for the first year. I'll be using them from this point forward until someone comes out with something better. Right now I haven't found anything better. Now I started a chain of discussions about me being thrown in jail in Mexico. That's not good. I shouldn't have brought that up. I shouldn't have answered that or acknowledged that comment. So Dustin says, Randy, in one of your archery hunts in New Mexico, you ate some bulbs that looked like they had yellow flowers on them. What was that plant? They're wild onions. There's a lot of wild onions in, a lot of places in the West. And if you want to do something fun, go get a book on foraging. And when you're out there and you got some downtime, you'll be amazed what you can forage out on the landscape. It's cool. And I ate way too many of those wild onions that day. Way too many. You'll know if you ate too many wild onions. Getting any walleyes? Oh yeah, we're stacking them up like cordwood. So last week we go walleye fishing, right? The week before we went, and in Montana, your possession limit is, or your daily limit's 5 a day, possession is 10. So my wife and I go up there. First day we catch our limit. Second day we catch our limit. So, okay, we got to go home. We come home, we eat some, we give some to some friends. So we're down to, between us, our possession limit is 20. We're down to 11. So we go back up last week. The first day, we catch almost a daily limit, which would have been 10. We catch 9. We got our possession limit. And I mean, we're thumping them, and we've got the cabin rented for another 2 days. And my wife is like, well, I guess we're going home. My wife doesn't believe in catch and release fishing. I mean, we got them figured out. We are just whacking them. And she's like, no, we're going home. I'm not going to stay here and catch these fish if I can't eat them. I love that woman, but she's got to get over that part of it. So, Scott asked, Randy, how's your Spanish now after being in jail in Mexico? It still sucks. Yeah. Brent knows where I grew up. He says, Randy, you Big Falls people always were a little rowdy. Doesn't surprise me that you ended up with some jail time. Let's see. Will you be trying elk hunting in Alaska? You know, Corey Jacobson and I have been talking about that we need to go and do Alaska elk hunting. So I think next year we might apply. This year, probably not, but maybe next year. Do I have any experience with wolves bugging me while I'm out hunting? Not really. I mean, you encounter them or you see their tracks or you hear them howling, but I've not. I mean, where I hunt, there's a lot of wolves. Not as many as there are in Idaho. Now, if you hunt central Idaho, you are hunting at ground zero of wolf numbers. It just, I don't know how that many wolves or the densities that are reported there, I don't know how they can sustain themselves. You think sooner or later they'd eat themselves out of house and home and they'd have to move out or their numbers would go down. And maybe that's what happened, but I never want to talk about Montana having high densities of wolves when there are Idaho guys around, especially central and northern Idaho guys. Randy, do you ever hunt deep in the backcountry when it's hot and dry? If so, how do you care for meat in those temps? We've hunted in a lot of hot temps where we've had to hang meat and go do, whatever it takes to get that out of there, and it might take a day or two. If you're going to be in hot temps and you need to keep that meat, use synthetic game bags. Synthetic game bags they're stronger. They're not going to expose the meat to as much dirt as those, what do you call them, mesh, I'm forgetting the spacing out the term here. Anyhow, the mesh ones that you put a hindquarter in there and the gaps in the mesh get really big. Well, flies and dirt and everything can get in there. Hang it in the shade. So if you can find a ridge that if this is the north face, hang it right up here towards the top of the ridge because the wind's going to be blowing through there a lot. So the wind is going to help and you're probably going to have a lot more shade there. You'd be surprised how much cooler you can keep meat just with a little wind and a little shade. If you're in a spot that has a creek, here's a little trick that you can use if you have a tarp. If you've ever seen what evaporation does coming off any surface of water, you can build a little frame. Say the creek is this wide. You can build a little frame over that and have your meat hanging just above where the creek is because there's evaporation coming off. In that little microclimate, if you want to call it that, that's going to be a temperature that's multiple degrees cooler than any place else. And then you just put a little tarp over it to keep it shaded or keep it if there's rain or condensation or anything like that. You can do something. Yeah, Brandon says that's cheesecloth. Thanks. Can't believe I was spacing that out. But you can make probably a 10-degree temperature difference just by finding a little creek or a little water source and hanging your meat over that and taking advantage of evaporation. But if you're going to do that, make sure you have some sort of synthetic game bag because it's going to wick moisture way better than anything else. Scott asks, have I hunted California elk or Pennsylvania elk? I have not. I've never applied for elk in either of those states, actually. How's Uncle Larry shaping up for Wyoming? Well, I talked to him the other day, and he says he's doing well. He had a heart attack in April. So his doctors, he had the tag last year. A lot of you are familiar with this story, and his chemotherapy was messing with his heart. His doctor said, no, you're not going. Wyoming has this great rule where you can reserve the tag for the following year. So he's got the tag reserved for this year. And then in April, he's out in his front yard and he has a heart attack. So he says he's still going. The guy is just tough as rails. I mean, tough as nails. He says he's going. And I'm with him. I hope he's going. It's so much fun to hunt with my uncles. I've got, on my mom's side, I've got 6 uncles, or had 6. There's 5 still living, and it's just fun to be able to hunt with family. Will a bull elk typically bugle more than once? Oh yeah, I've had them bugle multiple times, lots and lots. Do I ever put meat in the creek in a garbage bag? I don't. I've heard some people say that they do that, but I never have. Maybe that's a way to cool it off, but I just worry that if you were to get moisture on it, whether it's in the creek, whether it's whatever, moisture and heat are like the prime conditions for bacteria and spoilage. So that just scares me away from putting anything in a creek, even if I did have a bag to put it in. But I know some people who have, so I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I've not done it. I've not done it. Let's see. Someone's asking me about what tags I have this year. I made a mistake this year. So the last 3 years, I've drawn some really nice tags. And Kyler's over here laughing because he's heard me bemoaning my plight. So I was thinking that, I'm just like the luckiest guy around. Instead of this normal, low level, easy to draw tags that I normally apply for, I'm going to step it up one notch. And they're going to be a little harder to draw this year. Well, I got what I had coming. I haven't drawn much for tags this year. I've got Wyoming deer, Nevada deer, Arizona Coues deer. I think that's the only tags I've drawn, if I remember right. So everything else I'm going to be doing is over the counter, helping friends and other stuff. So, oh boy, what size cooler will fit a bone-in elk quarter? It's going to be huge. It's going to be like 150 quart cooler to fit. If you've ever, you take a bone-in elk quarter from the hock to the hip, and then he's got this jog, right, the dog leg here where the knee joint is, and how wide it is on a big mature bull elk. It's going to take a huge cooler. Bone that thing out. Get that bone out of there, and then you could be able to fit a hind quarter in an 85 quart cooler with room to spare. So, let's see. When rifle hunting post rut and you get to a unit for the first time, have you ever found that it's thicker than you thought? Yep. And glassing knobs are harder to come by? Yep. Had that happen. If so, do you just continue to spend time persistently looking for glassing knobs, or just move to plan B and hunt the timber as best you can? I seldom hunt timber. Post rut especially. Thick timber is going to have very, very low densities of elk. I'm going to be looking I'm going to keep hiking, or I might just pull camp and move some other place where it's not as much thick timber. And I'm going to get back into those rock piles and those other places. In post-rut, these bulls are going to be either solo or starting to come in their bachelor groups. By late season, they're going to be in bachelor groups, but in both of those seasons, they are in sanctuary mode. And they need to find sanctuaries that are escape places that have a little bit of feed. They have to recover from the rut. And if you get these great, great big expanses of dark timber, there's almost zero feed in there for them. So they might go in there for a short period of time, or they might have to cruise through there, but that is not the places they're using as their primary sanctuaries. So I usually have sanctuary A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if A doesn't work, if it turns out to be thicker than I thought and there's no glassing areas, I'm moving to one of my other spots. But very seldom am I just going to dive into the dark timber and start hunting. How do I like that Nissan truck? A lot. Been towing my boat with it all summer. Any particular video or book on field boning? We have a video out on our YouTube channel about the gutless method, how to quarter them, how to do everything. And so someone has asked, what coolers does it take to fit an elk? We've done videos on those on our YouTube channel. Let's see. Do I bring rock salt with me on hot temps to preserve the cape? I don't. Salt is just, it's an awful lot to carry in. So usually we're going to be out of there if I keep a cape and let it cool at night. In the mountains, it gets really cool at night. So if I keep that cape open and let it cool, once that temperature gets down and that temperature is dropped, that cape temperature is dropped, by putting it in the shade and in the wind, I can keep it for a few days. So, so Anthony says, Randy, love the show, blah, blah, blah. Love it on Amazon and have been addicted. Thanks. When are new episodes coming? Well, we have an episode. Season 7, episode 1 got sent to Amazon last week. So I checked today and it wasn't approved yet. So any day, season 7, episode 1 is going to be up, and we're just rolling them through the queue here. So season 7 is going to be there for your viewing pleasure very, very soon. I thank you for watching it. Appreciate everyone who does. How do I like my new Cooper tires? I love them. I used to run the AT3s for a long time, and this time I went to the AT3 XLT, and I thought, that can't make that big of a difference. It's a really, really impressive tire. Works really good. Let's see. Tony asked, what Bowtech model did you and the crew choose to shoot this year on archery tags? SR6. So, someone's asking walleye advice. My wife will divorce me if I give walleye advice. And I'm not that good of a walleye fisherman, so you don't want advice from me. Of course, I'm not that good of an elk hunter either, so I'm not sure why you'd want advice from me on that. But, as we get towards the end, I want to make sure that you go out to that link that Kyler posted and you apply for the sweepstakes for the Bowtech giveaway. That's an it doesn't be archery. It can be anything. It's an Illinois hunt on the Grigsby farm. You go out to, and Kyler, are you going to repost that in the comments? And it's all expense paid hunt in the fall of 2019 in Illinois. Bowtech, all you can do is go to the link Kyler's going to put there and you're off and running. Or if you don't want to hit the link, just text Newberg, Newberg, to the text number 64600 and you'll be set to go. I want to thank Leupold, Bowtech, Onyx, Go Hunt. Oh, Go Hunt has a 30-day free trial on their insider going right now. So go to gohunt.com/Randy, I think it is. And you'll be set. You'll be ready to go. And then Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, Tight Spot, Ripcord, Black Gold. All those companies make this possible. Can't believe we did it without any type of terrible disaster technology challenge today. Been so frustrating with all those technology issues. We just, we get it all set up, we get all excited, poof, something happens. So today has been good. Andy says, Randy, love what you do. How much do you think you contribute to point creep and people not drawing tags like yourself? I don't know. This is interesting because a lot of people blame us for giving too much information. That, hey, I had to learn that or whatever. Well, here's what the why of this business plan is. This business plan is to promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. And in order for us to create advocates, we need to inform and inspire. That's the only way you're going to do it. So we give a lot of information. We don't give specific units. We don't give specific drainages. But we give people the tools, we hope anyhow, of here's how you would do e-scouting. Here's a tool. Here's OnX. Or I've been doing multi-state, out-of-state applications since 1995. So what's that, 24 years? It was so cumbersome and complicated before. And then along comes a service like Go Hunt. And I subscribed to it and I'm like, whoa, this works really good. It takes all this information. So I'm going to tell people about it. I don't know what to tell people who are upset when we're giving information that lowers the hurdles for hunters. If people want to blame it on me, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. But I'm not going to quit doing what I do. That why up there is why I get up every morning. I don't make any money at this. I've never taken a dime from it. But I get pretty excited to get up every morning and promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. And a lot of people say, well, you giving this information and showing people these opportunities is making it harder for others to draw tags. I don't know what to say. It's information. It's out there. And I think, especially when you get to my age, if I never get to hunt again a day in my life, I've had more than my share. I want to see the next hunter and the next hunter and the next hunter. I want to see the people coming behind me have the opportunities that I've had, because I've had unbelievable opportunities. And that's what drives me. I don't know. There's all kinds of, I get a ton of comments. Like the other day when Wyoming results came out, it used to be so easy to draw antelope tags before you guys started featuring it and talking about it. Well, the other thing you might want to look at, if that's what you feel, is in the heyday of antelope in Wyoming, they used to issue a lot more tags than they do today. And another dynamic, when I talk to a lot of people in the Midwest, they've been priced out of their hunting back in the Midwest through leases and other things, development, subdivisions. So for a lot of them, it's cheaper to come as a non-resident and hunt Colorado elk than it is to hunt white-tailed deer in their home state. So there's all kinds of dynamics that are adding and contributing to that. And if people want to imply, and I'm not saying that you did that, you didn't make that implication, you just asked the question, but trust me, there's a lot of people who do say that. And it's, I don't know how to answer it. We're here to provide information and create advocates for self-guided public land hunting. And that's kind of what we do. But probably not the answer some people want to hear. I'm sure some people are going to hear this, and I'm going to get even more messages tomorrow of, Newberg, stick it in your ear. But let's see. We got to have one good last one here. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to laugh at some of these folks, but some of you people there's a few people here who really want to get me in trouble. I cannot believe that some of you ask me some of these questions or prod me and poke me into a certain direction. Okay, David asks, are you still using the OnX chip on your GPS, or did you punt the GPS and move strictly to the OnX app on your phone? I think I'm about a 98% convert. I don't know why I'm so busy, or maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe I should hand my GPS to Kyler and say, here, take all these waypoints, all these trails, and import them into my OnX. Would you do that for me?
I sure would.
Oh, so if he would do that for me, I would probably auction off that GPS without any waypoints or trail. No, I've come to really like the Onyx app on my phone because the ability to have the satellite imagery that you can't get on a GPS, that's a game changer. It's just, I'm there. It's taken me a few years, but I'm there. So remember, RMEF Gerber, sign up, become an RMEF member, get a $40 Gerber Vital, and sign up for the Bowtech Sweepstakes. And hopefully one of you will win that archery hunt with the Grigsby Farm in Illinois, and you'll be out hunting big whitetails this year. And maybe next week we should do it on Mondays. I can't believe how many people showed up on a Monday. Maybe we should quit doing it on Wednesdays and move it to Mondays. So anyhow, thanks folks. Hope you all have a great 4th of July. Be safe. Have fun.